I'm Erica Lynn, and we all know the ocean is the most demanding environment on Earth, consistently testing the reliability and durability of our equipment. When you spend as much time fishing as I do, you know that reliable gear is essential for staying on the water. This is why I went with the Abyss battery to power my trolling motor, electronics, and outboard. The guys at Abyss Battery are rattling the saltwater industry by manufacturing performance marine batteries specifically designed for sonar, outboards, trolling motors, and electronic fishing reels. They're also Bluetooth compatible, so I found checking battery statuses right on your phone while you're out on the water is a huge game changer. To learn more about why Abyss batteries are used by the pros and factory installed by premier boat builders, visit abyssbattery.com.
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by overpriced wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I heard that for a limited time, all Mint Mobile wireless plans are $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they sell wireless service online. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. To get this new customer offer, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Hello and welcome to the Publicly Challenged Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Oswald, and I hope you join me on my quest for knowledge to become a better public land hunter, angler, and forager. Stick with this and who knows, maybe we will learn something together. All right, so I'm sitting here and I am talking to Anne-Marie Bilella. And Anne-Marie, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself for everybody listening?
Sure. Hi, thanks for having me too. I'm Anne Marie. I'm also known as the Forager Chick, and I am in Monroe, Georgia. I live on a farm with my husband, and I'm a forager, an herbalist, crazy mushroom person, and I teach homesteaders and preppers how to identify wild foods and how to use it for food and medicine. So I love what I do. It's my full-time job. And yeah, I just love sharing everything there is about foraging. And if I'm not on the computer, I'm out in the woods.
So I love everything about that, and all of those things intrigue me. I'm not so much the prepper type, but I've always been, I don't want to say like Boy Scout, but always prepared. Like, think of, the unforeseen, or just put Murphy's Law into effect because chances are something is going to happen, and just being prepared for that. Even in like my hunting aspects, I always try and keep certain first aid items readily available and with me, and always want to educate others on stopping the bleed. I mean, let's face it, as hunters, we do play with sharp, pointy sticks and things that go boom and put holes in things. So it is a necessary skill to learn and hopefully educate others on. So I think that's really cool, though, all the stuff that you teach. But before we get into that, I'm kind of curious. You say they call you the Forager Chick. How did
Yes.
that all come about? I mean, where did that
Okay.
start? I mean, I know you lived in New York, maybe upstate New York. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, New York City, not sure.
Mm-hmm. Long Island, actually. Okay,
Okay.
I'll tell you about that part first before the forager chick. So I am so not the way I was. When we moved here 30 something years ago, I was a typical Long Islander girl. I mean, I had the big hair, I had the pink nails, I wore high heels, and me go camping? Heck no, that wasn't even on my radar. So when we moved down here, I wanted land so that I could have horses. I was like, yeah, I want to ride some horses. No, I don't want to do the garden, honey. You do the garden. I'll just go play with the horses. And little by little, it just changed from that. And when I had my son, all of a sudden I realized, there's a lot more out there than what I was doing. I want to stay home with my child and take care of him and learn how to grow my own food and cook my own food. Well, I've always cooked, can my own food, anything like that. So yeah, I am so far removed from the Long Island scene. It's not even funny.
So when you say that in my head, I see like The Sopranos or like Goodfellas or something like that, and like the big hair and the wives and getting all dolled up and going out to eat and like the big family
Picture the
dinners.
nanny. Do you remember this? Well, I don't know.
Oh yeah,
You're
Fran
not probably
Drescher.
not
Yeah,
old.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
with
yeah.
the voice.
So yeah, that
Yeah,
was me. Yeah, that was me.
that's awesome. So okay, so you guys decided to moved to the
hmm
country in Georgia.
hmm
How was that as far as an adjustment? I mean, coming from Long Island
Oh
to
wow. It was quite amazing because we lived on this property that was like 30 by 100. I mean, that's like the tiny postage stamp, right? And when we moved here, we got 7 acres. It's now 24, but we had 7 acres and there was nothing around us. Like the nearest gas station was 2.5, 3 miles away. For the first 2 months that we lived here, every time there was fog, because we live at the top of a hill, we're like, oh God, we can't go anywhere. We didn't realize that once you got off of this hill, the fog was gone,
yeah, every
but it was an adjustment.
I'm at the age now where a lot of things have changed and developed around me, and I tell my wife all the time because I grew up in this area, and I'm like, oh, I remember when that was nothing but cornfields. So anytime we drive somewhere, she's like, yeah, let me guess. It was nothing but cornfields, or it was nothing but timber, and now it's not there anymore. This is so developed. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's true. It really has built up all around us. It's
Definitely.
kind of funny, but it's
Yeah, I
funny.
wouldn't change it for anything.
No, no. And that's my wife was a total city girl, wanted to, live in Chicago when she was done with school and all of those things. And then just the other day, in fact, we were talking about it, and she's like, I wouldn't trade this for anything. Like, if you told me I had to move into town or in a bigger city, she's like, no, I don't think so. It's not happening. She's like, I'd take a trailer on, 20 acres or a tiny house somewhere before I ever moved, back into town. So that's pretty
Right,
cool.
right.
Yeah. So yeah, you move into the country at this point, and then I mean, where's it go from there? You have your son, and you just
Yeah.
want to learn more about the wonderful nature around you, or what?
Yeah, it was just like kind of crazy. I wound up having a couple of friends that did the homesteading thing and had children that were homeschooled and their children were healthy and she would make their own medicine and they had all their own meat. They raised all their own food. And I was like, oh, wow, I want to do this. I don't want to raise my own meat though. I'm honestly, I don't want to do that. But I wanted to learn from her and I did. I learned a lot from her about canning. And at that time, it was the first time I learned anything about herbalism because, we went to the doctors, like everybody told us, you just
Mm-hmm.
go to the doctor. And now when you can make your own medicine. So the world was opening up. And at that time, this friend who had a farm, she had 6 children. She started this ladies group. It's called the Ladies Homestead Gathering. It's a national group now. And when we would all get together, we just had all these ideas about homesteading and like baking and canning and growing food or raising pigs or raising chickens and our minds were just blown about learning about this. So it was just like we had all this information overload in just like 1 to 2 years. And I just kind of gravitated towards herbalism. That was my thing at first. I was like, oh man, I want to learn about all these things because at the time, that we were going to this class or this group I was getting migraines and they were really bad and I was put on some really strong medication and it was terrible. It was so bad that I would tell my husband before I laid down, I would say, honey, check on me in about an hour
Mm.
because the medicine has like really bad side effects and it gives me this like heart pain in my heart and it puts pressure on my chest and my shoulders and I feel like I can't breathe. And I'm like, just check on me, make sure I'm alive. You shouldn't think like that, but we
No.
listen to our doctors. And so I met when I was at this group, I met this woman who is an herbalist, and she goes, "You don't need to do that anymore. I have something for you. It's called feverfew. And if you take that daily, your migraines might go away." And I was like, "Give it to me." So I started this, and that was my, I guess, initiation into herbalism. I realized, oh, herbs can help us. Let me get into this a little bit further. And then I did. I dove into learning everything I could about herbs. And then I finally went into a full course with Patricia Howell of Botanologos School of Herbal Studies. And I did that with her. And then the foraging just came from there because I was more about, I didn't want to become a medical herbalist. I didn't want to become the traditional herbalist to see patients. I did that a while, but it wasn't me. I would rather teach everybody, hey, here, look what we got outside. You can make medicine. Let me show you how. And then you can take care of your own family. So that's the route that I chose to take. And I just, yeah, I love foraging. And the more I can find around me, the better it is. I can make more medicine that way, or I can eat the food that I find. Um, yeah, I love that because I did notice something with herbalists. A lot of them were using herbs that came from different countries,
Hmm.
not what we have here. They were armchair. I call them armchair herbalists. They would just order them from a catalog, make up their compound medicines, and give them to their patients. And I'm like, why? Why are you doing that? We have so much here that you don't need to go anywhere else. There's always something else that's right here, right around the corner from you.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Use
there's a
what's in your
few
backyard.
things there that I want to kind of unfold a little bit. But one of the
Okay.
things that first I'll address is I have ran out of certain things that I've collected and foraged. And over time, it was certain things that I'd take an entire year and identify it through the entire course of the year and then wait until the next year before I felt confident and comfortable enough to where I could harvest these things and then dry them and keep them in, jars in my basement on the shelves. And it was so cool. It was such a good feeling to have my own little apothecary. And, but I ran out of certain things. And so I ordered them, and tried to get the non-irradiated, non-GMO, whatever, but it's still coming from foreign countries and shipped over here.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty sure in some of those things, there's other stuff mixed within them from the harvest methods or whatever. It almost looks like blades of grass and pieces of straw chopped up along with it. And I can't really tell, and you
Yep.
don't know. I mean, it's not like I'm doing any
Mm-mm.
type of source testing here. So uh, I could see to where that could become problematic or introducing other things and allergens to people and all kinds of stuff to where if you could harvest yourself or teach people to harvest themselves, it seems like the better, more sustainable way to do it, as well as a
It's
safer method. But
right.
with that being said, um, you said that you got into it and you started learning it and you went to herbalism school. And I was telling my wife, I said, I think I want to, not necessarily maybe be a clinical herbalist or something like that, but I want to study it more. And it's like, how does one even go about that? Do they have to, like, is there online universities? How do you even, start?
Yeah. There's a couple of different ways. I mean, nowadays, after 2020, everything is online. Even I have an online school now because you can't service all your people locally. So yeah, I started first with a book by Rosemary Gladstar. I think it's called A Beginner's Guide to Herbalism. Herbalism, A Beginner's Guide. I always forget the title.
Hmm.
It's like $10,
I
right?
own it.
That's oh, good. There you go.
Yeah.
That's the best way to start. And then find something if you can in your area. Like check in around your area. There is the American Herbalist Guild, and you can look on their website, and they'll have some good qualified herbalists that have full courses. And it depends on what you want, and what aligns with your beliefs and stuff like that too, because there's a lot of different things out there. And you could take most of the courses that are in person are going to be anywhere from 7 months to a year, even longer. Like we have a local herbalist over in Alabama, and his is perpetual, but I think it's about a 2-year program. You can do online ones. There's plenty of online ones. The Herbal Academy is a really good one that you can start your beginner herbalism and then go all the way into intermediate. But I am a hands-on tactile learner. I like to learn everything directly from somebody. So I find that the best route, or with videos, something with videos.
Yeah.
So I hope that answered.
Yeah. I'm pretty kinetic too, as far as that goes. I need to see it and touch it at the same time when I'm
Hmm.
doing that. I feel like I retain more that way anyway versus
Right.
studying a traditional like a book and then maybe hearing somebody say something about it. It just doesn't feel the same.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, okay, that's definitely good to know. And then the other thing was you were talking about like educating others and doing that. So how did that? At what point did that come about? Was it like as soon as you learned it, or did you practice for a while? What did you do?
Okay, this is kind of funny because I was the shyest person, like way back when, you know. I was so shy. If you said boo to me, I'd be like, okay, I'm not talking, I'm not getting up, I'm not getting in front of anybody and telling them anything. So back in 2011, I taught my first bread making class because somebody encouraged me to do this in front of our group of 12 women. I'm like, I can't do this. Oh my God, I'm going to die. So I did it, and then I kind of liked it. And I'm like, wow, well, all right, what else can I teach? Well, in 2013, I went ahead and taught my very first, like, what's out in your backyard that you could eat and make medicine from. It was like a class. We had 10 or 12 people here at my house, and we went for a little walk in the woods, in the fields, and I talked to them about different herbs, and it just compounded from there. And now I have so many different classes that I teach, and now I focus more on mushrooms. Mushrooms are my main thing that I teach about, especially the wild mushrooms and making medicine from them, identifying them, and being a certified mushroom forager. So, yeah, it was just like, oh my gosh, I got to teach. And what else can I teach now? And I let my students kind of dictate that. Like, what do you want to learn now? And we would go from there. So I have quite a few students, and I enjoy it. And I'm always looking for new people and new things to teach. But I pretty much stick with the basics of backyard foraging because that's what people want to know. They want to know what's right here in your area. They don't want to know what's growing out in California, like if I'm in Georgia, what's growing in Canada. What do I got in my yard? And so I'll even go to people's homes or farms and do like a little walkabout, and we do a 2-hour walkabout on their property and showing them what's there. And I do little index cards, like flashcards, and they take a picture so they can remember because nobody remembers, on the walks. You can't remember all that. And they're excited about that. And they're like, oh, great, come back at the next season and let's see what's growing then. And when people find that they really have everything that they need right in their backyard to start their own apothecary, they get really excited about that. Or to make food. I mean, to just go out there and make a pesto or a salad and it's free. I mean, God put it out there for a reason,
Yeah,
it's there for us to use. And people forgot about that. In the old days, everybody foraged,
yeah.
everybody was out
It
there.
was commonplace. It's definitely,
Right.
and let me ask you this then, because it makes me curious, and I don't know if it's because I have such an interest in it now and am learning it that maybe to me it just seems like a lot more people are interested in it these days, and there's almost a resurgence or revival as far as foraging and herbalism. I mean, what do you see on your end as far as that goes?
I see people are waking up to see what's going on right now. And especially, not to get into politics,
Mm-hmm.
just this
Yeah.
past year alone with food, where's your food coming from? And why isn't it here and why isn't it at our grocery stores? And people are thinking, oh crap, what if we have that situation and we can't go to the grocery store? That's where I'm getting people. They're like, I need to know. I need to know what I can eat out there, because they might be hunters, they might be fishermen. I'm learning to fish now because I need to know those skills. I'm not a hunter. I don't eat meat, but I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all. But I would like to learn how to hunt because it's probably something that I need to know. And this is just things. And this is where I was talking about before with being a prepper. And I don't mean like you see on those TV shows
Yeah.
from the 80s and 90s where
Yeah.
people are having these crazy gas mask things. And, I'm talking about just being prepared, like you were saying,
Yeah.
to have enough or to know enough that you could survive if you had to for 6 months to a year,
Yeah.
because
That's yeah.
and I'm getting a lot of that now. People are like, well, there's no ibuprofen at the store. What are we going to do? Or there's no toilet paper. What can we use? Well, there's plenty of things outside you can use, but
Right. Right. Just
um,
don't use the poison
I think
ivy.
that's right. That's right. But I think that's it. People are waking up to realize that we have a somewhat of a broken system, and if something's not done about it soon, there's going to be a lot of people out of luck. And
Yeah.
most people, if they look in their grocery, if they look in their refrigerator, they only have 2 or 3 days of food anyway. That's not going to work if there is a bad situation.
Yeah.
You know that.
Living in the
Mm.
country, I feel like it's a necessity to have more than that because it's a major inconvenience if you're cooking, you're making something, right? You want those items readily available and more than just
Hmm.
one jar of whatever, can of whatever. So that's always been kind of a staple in my life and now my wife's life as well. And it used to be, Sam's Club runs or Costco runs, and my wife was like, "This is crazy. Who needs, this much bulk of whatever?" And I'm like, we're not going back to the store for like a month. We have everything we need. And she's like, "What?" It was just fascinating to her to be exposed to this lifestyle, and now it's as your orders, and it's bulk grains and grinding our own for our own flour and things like that. And she's like, I
That's
couldn't
great.
ever go back to that, to the old
Hmm.
way of that. I mean, pretty soon I'd like to start growing my own grains or find different
Yeah.
plants that don't even have to be that maintained, that can come back. Like you see the amaranth and stuff like that. It just makes you think like, why wouldn't you just let that go crazy? What's it
Right.
hurting? Yeah.
It's not going to hurt anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, you could have grains that way. That's
The only
fabulous.
thing I've tried popping amaranth. I haven't tried popping I want to try like lamb's quarter seeds and see if like you can
Right.
pop those and make like the little tiny popcorn out of them. But I can't
Oh,
even get the
cool.
amaranth to do it properly. Like I'll get it to half
Hmm.
pop, and then the rest of it by then it burns. But I'm working on it. I'm trying,
Oh,
and I'm going to try and get it to where I can do that. Sorghum I can get to do, things like that. I don't know what else is out there that maybe I could try it with, but it does work. You can like pop
hmm,
it like popcorn, which is pretty cool.
that's awesome.
um,
That is pretty good.
Yeah. So I kind of curious about like the medicines and stuff like that. You were talking about your headaches, and you were
Hmm.
talking about I can't remember what you said it was, but
Feverfew.
feverfew. Okay. So like,
Hmm.
were you utilizing that in a tea or tincture form, or what were you
Oh,
doing?
no. Oh, gosh. It's a god awful tasting herb, but it grows. Once you plant it, you have it like forever. It's like one of those weeds because each flower head has like thousands of little seeds. It looks like a tiny, tiny daisy.
Okay.
It's a white, little teeny tiny white flower, but it smells really awful. And I took it in a capsule.
Okay.
So it worked. It was like once a day. And so after that, I decided, let me tincture this and have it. But the one thing when you do have a migraine, you don't want anything that tastes nasty because it'll just make you
Right.
nauseous
The rest of
and
your
worse.
senses.
So
Yeah.
yes, yes. So, but it's easy to grow. It's definitely easy to grow. And once you have it, you could capsulate it yourself just with the little capsule maker.
Interesting. Because I actually had,
Yeah.
it was weird. I had migraines. Like it was like 2, maybe 3 days in a row. I had a migraine, and it was just terrible, you almost get nausea from the headache. And I'm like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
hardly
Mm-hmm.
ever, and go to the
Mm-hmm.
chiropractor and get adjusted and relieve some of that tension and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But it was weird. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I really don't want to take the liver killer here, to try and get
No.
rid of it. And it's like, what do I use? And I was out of mint, and I knew like that might help a little bit and ease some of the, but
Mm-hmm.
it was like I don't know what to use, and I was looking in my book and a lot of things I didn't have. So it's kind of interesting that you say that, because I might try and plant it if it grows good here. We'll see what it does.
Definitely. It's so easy to grow. And it's pretty. It's pretty to look at too. So, and you'll always
Interesting.
have it once you get it.
All right. So the mushrooms are your main thing now, like curiosity, interest, all that kind of stuff. Is it because you've mastered
Yeah.
the herbalism, or what? What drew you to the
No, no,
mushrooms?
it's so funny because as I hated mushrooms up until I was like in my 30s, I absolutely hated mushrooms because the only thing I've ever experienced was white button mushrooms
Yep.
or mushrooms in a can when I was a kid, which was disgusting and slimy. And we were doing a shiitake workshop here at one day. A friend was teaching it. And I'm like, I didn't even really like mushrooms. And here I am doing this shiitake class. And she made this shiitake hummus which was delicious. And I'm like, whoa, I could just eat bowls of this stuff. But we were just doing the logs, inoculating the logs for shiitakes, and then we went on a walk to look at mushrooms and we found our first morels. Now I know up north you guys have bigger morels than we do down here, but I was just like ecstatic that I found morels and I cooked them up when we got back to the house and we only found five, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna keep like two of these. You guys can have the rest. And cooked them up, and I was like, whoa, doesn't taste like a button mushroom. So then I went on to all the different types of mushrooms, and chanterelles were next. We have so many chanterelles here in the
Yes.
summertime. And going back to an earlier question you had about where my name came from, my nickname, my friend and I were out hunting chanterelles as we do every summer pretty much. And we had like baskets and baskets of these chanterelles. We probably had 8 pounds. And all we kept talking about was like, okay, we're gonna fry these up, we're gonna make some maybe some chanterelles in dessert, maybe we'll make chanterelle casserole. I mean, it was like Forrest Gump, we're talking about all the different things we can make with chanterelles. Well, we're all excited. We get in our own cars and I've told this story a million times, but it's funny because her and I never talk on the phone ever. We always text. So I get in a car. I'm not like 10 feet out the driveway of the farm we were at. I hunt at one of these farms at 400 acres, which is wonderful. And I call her up and I'm like, Denise, guess what? We are the Forager Chicks and we're writing a cookbook. She's like, okay. So
Nice.
that's where the name came from. And my book is Wild Eating with the Forager Chicks. But I am the Forager Chick. And when we're a group, we're the Forager Chicks. So that's
Interesting.
where like
S-
like a little chicken, if you think about it, little chicks and hens, they forage for their food,
They
right?
do. They
They pick
scratch and
and choose what
forage.
they want. And yeah, so that's where it came from.
My chickens actually ate. I made a mushroom bed with the kids um, last spring, and they, as soon as they would pop up, my wine caps, the chickens would peck at them and eat some of them and leave them, and then if they didn't, there was squirrels that must have got them first thing in the morning or something,
Oh,
and they were eating them too. So it was a fight just to get my mushrooms every day, and I'd pick
aw,
them. So I'd get a handful. I mean, I got quite a few for like a first year mushroom bed. It was actually pretty interesting to see how many popped up. And then after a rain, they'd be
nice.
huge and almost split. You'd have to go out there and get them right away. But it was
Definitely,
good,
definitely.
interesting. I had quite a few little sandwich, not sandwich baggies, but like the lunch sacks full of them. So
Right.
yeah,
Oh, that's good.
yeah,
Yeah, but I love mushrooms because now, because like I said before, I don't eat meat, so I do eat chicken and I eat fish and stuff. But mushrooms are a high protein food, and most people don't realize that. Some of them have up to 30% protein, and so to me, I eat mushrooms every day. That's just my added protein, so I don't have to rely on beans and soy products and other things, because, you got to have your protein every day. And yeah, I just became obsessed with it. Truly, I am
Yeah.
obsessed. I am a fungus freak.
Our 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 babysitter was the same way. She was vegan and then slowly introducing meat, but still a lot of her dishes
Mhm.
were, supplemented with mushrooms instead of meat and things like that. So when I had those bags in the fridge, my wife would give them away, and it's kind of funny because I come home the one day and I'm like, oh, we're gonna make stir fry at work tomorrow, and I'm gonna go and do all these things, and then I look for the mushrooms and I'm like, wait, where are my mushrooms? And she gave the whole bag away to her, which
Oh,
is fine. I
no.
wasn't mad, but it was just a real heartbreaker at the moment because I had in my mind what I was going to do with it, and I had the venison roast out and was slicing it up and ready to get it all together so then I could cook it, and it didn't end up happening that week. So,
Oh.
but it's okay. But it just made me think of that when you said that though, because it's funny though how like is it just because the red meat thing or what? Like you'll eat chicken?
I eat chicken, and it's funny because I don't know, I always say it's funny, but I eat chicken maybe once a week or so. And for a while, I didn't eat chicken at all. I just, ate fish all the time, or I ate the mushrooms, or I would do some soy that was organic. But I was never really a big meat eater. I
Hmm.
didn't like meat. And like if I had meat, I would cover it in ketchup and gravy.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
guess it was probably 25, 28 years ago. I was like, it's just I don't like the meat. I don't want the meat. Um, so at first it was a little bit of an ethical thing, but I'm not like one of those people.
Yeah.
I do believe I was young then, and I was also like, oh, you shouldn't hunt anything. But I do believe you need to hunt your food, and if you can hunt your food and get it, that's great. I think that's fabulous.
Yeah.
But I just don't want it. I cook it for my husband now.
Yeah. It's it's funny because I know somebody who raised chickens. Now they just have chickens for eggs, but
Right.
they raised meat birds before, and I raise my own birds for meat as well. But they did, and he's a huge hunter, right? And he's like, "Why do you eat chicken? Like it's gross." And he goes, "After raising them, like I never want to eat it again. They're just, especially because they were Cornish crosses, so it wasn't like a heritage
Mm-hmm.
breed, and they grow super fast and it's just almost
Mm-hmm.
unnatural." And he's like, it's just so
Right.
disgusting. They're so dirty. They're in their own filth. Like, why would you eat that when you can eat like bear meat or and he's like, it's there's so many other better red meats out there that's way tastier. Or go kill a porcupine, he says, and it was kind of funny.
No.
You know, I don't know. Like, I've never eaten a porcupine, but I know quite a few people now that say it's wonderful. So I kind of
Yeah.
want to go, and we don't really have porcupines around here by me. If you go further north
Yeah.
or something, you do, but kind of makes me want to go do it now, just to see.
I guess if you had to, if you had to, it's good to know that you would do it.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do in a have to situation. I'm sure I would eat it. Now, if you tell me I have to eat some nasty, slimy bugs or something, I might not do that. I don't know. Or some weird things. I'm trying to even think of some weird things. I watch the shows Alone and Naked and Afraid. I love those shows. I watch them all the time. So there's some things that they've eaten, and I'm like, oh, hell no, I'm not eating that.
I've never eaten grubs or anything like that.
Hmm.
Maybe as a kid, like a half a night crawler or something on a dare, like fishing with your buddies. But other than that, no. Um, but I have eaten termites. I was down in, Costa Rica and licked my finger and stuck it in the tree and pulled out a bunch of termites and ate them. And you couldn't. I'm gonna be honest. You couldn't really. It just tasted like sawdusty. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like a piece of cheese that was in the bottom of the bag that's caked with cellulose. It was about the same as that. There wasn't really any flavor or anything. Um, but other than that, maybe a couple ants. I don't. But other than that, I haven't really eaten any bugs, and I really don't know if I want to. I've got a friend that he eats beetles, Japanese
Uh,
beetles, and he makes
no,
all kinds of weird stuff with them. Um, and he says, why not? They're there, and you might as well kill them. And if you're going to kill them, try and eat them. So, I mean, I see his ideology behind that, but I just can't get into it yet. I'd rather feed them to my chickens. Um,
definitely.
you know,
Hmm. Yep.
I don't want to eat grasshoppers. I'm pretty sure they have like tapeworms and stuff in them. A lot of
Yeah.
parasites, but
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by overpriced wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I heard that for a limited time, all Mint Mobile wireless plans are $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they sell wireless service online. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. To get this new customer offer, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
How do you feel great on vacation? Like really good? Easy. You go to Aruba. You'll spend your time relaxing on cool white sand beaches and floating in healing blue water. You'll immerse yourself in natural wonder and find your center on an island where things move at your speed. You won't just feel great, you'll feel relaxed, renewed, and ready for life. That's the Aruba effect. Plan your trip at aruba.com.
Yeah. I'll just stick to eating the weeds,
yeah, I eat
I'm
the
sure I
weeds.
get my protein
You
that way.
probably get a lot of, and I thought about that before as I pick different like leafy things and stuff that you don't notice and you don't see, and maybe on the bottom side there's some type of like egg nodule or something like that that you don't know, and it's insects or parasites on them. Who knows?
Yep. Yep. Same with mushrooms.
Yeah.
If you don't, depending on the type of mushroom, there are some that have worms or little critters that look exactly the same color as the mushroom. And
Yes.
so, like
Like
for oyster
puffballs.
mushrooms, oh yeah, puffballs, oyster mushrooms, those are the only mushrooms that I dip in salted water briefly for about 10 minutes before I cook them. Because one time I was cutting them on a cutting board, and all of a sudden I saw things moving on my cutting board. And I was like, that's when the little girl came out again. I was like,
Yeah,
I can't eat this.
I've thrown a lot of puffballs in my yard after cutting them and just having stuff crawling all over in them. I'm like, no, I don't need to eat them.
Mm.
Let them grow, and maybe there'll be more, and I'll pick them before they're buggy. You know.
There you go. There you go. You want healthy specimens. And I know that's what a lot of people sometimes go out there and they'll pick mushrooms, and they pick these maggoty looking mushrooms. I'm like, stop it. Stop it. You don't need to eat that. Just pick a healthy specimen. I mean, you wouldn't pick an animal that's half dead, right?
Some
Don't pick
people,
a,
maybe. I don't
some
know.
people, well, okay, you're right. You're right. Roadkill, yes.
Yeah.
But, pick something that's healthy. If you're going to the grocery store, you're not going to eat the ones that have like the flies all over them. I don't think you're going to look for the prettiest looking packages.
Right. So mushrooms then, like once you started foraging and you got into it, was
Mhm.
it edibility at first or like medicinal aspects?
Um, I would say a combination of medicinally and edibility for sure. Because when I was studying herbalism, I still study herbalism, but when I went to herbal school, we did talk about certain medicinal mushrooms, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then when I realized, gosh, they are so good for you. I mean, not just for nutrition, but medicinally, it's like, yeah, what else is out there? And it's more about the hunt for me too. I really like the hunt of finding the mushrooms and making different dishes with it and see how creative you could get with it. But I do make medicine out of all the mushrooms I find. I do dual extracted tinctures so that I have them and they're stored up for up to 10 years. And mushrooms are good for so many different things in your body, but especially for the immune system. So I make a lot for that for people that have colds or for our families. And lion's mane is one of my main ones, and we're finding a lot of those now, but a lot of it goes into medicine to make the tinctures for our brain and keep us healthy that way for sure. And then I just got into teaching others about it. I became certified from Mushroom Mountain, to be a certified forager and resell mushrooms, because in states, certain states, you can't just sell mushrooms to the public. You have to be certified, which is good nowadays because so
Hmm.
many chefs were accepting mushrooms that were not the mushroom they're told. And,
Gyromitras instead of.
oh my gosh. And, uh, so education needs to happen a lot more. And I also became one of their instructors for them because I love teaching, and I became a facilitator for their program. And I get to teach in New York and Georgia and South Carolina and hopefully Alabama. And one day up by you, maybe we'll
Okay.
see. I'm trying to get them to get at least Ohio on board. Um, but yeah, just educating other people about the mushrooms, because a lot of people are scared of mushrooms. They have
Yes.
this fear of them,
Yeah.
mycophobia.
It's weird. Yeah, it's people, and what I find interesting is some people, like their grandparents, went out and they would forage and go pick mushrooms
Hmm.
or whatever. But then just that one generation or two generation disconnect, and they'll be the first people to comment and tell you, oh, like you're going to poison yourself, or oh,
Hmm.
is this forage? What are you doing? If you bring in something to share with them, and then they eat it and they're like, oh wow, that was really good. You're going to poison me with it? Am I going to get sick? And I'm like, no, you're not going to get sick
Yeah,
from it.
right.
We know what we're doing here. I wouldn't feed it to you if I wasn't confident. So, or
That's
well,
right.
maybe I would. Depends on who the person is, I guess.
No, no.
I'm kidding. I'm
But
kidding. But yeah.
if you think also, from a grocery standpoint, I mean, how much money you save. I'm very frugal by nature. I've been that way. I grew up that way. We didn't have money when I was a kid, and so my frugal nature comes out now. And to know that mushrooms can be like your food source, and it didn't cost anything except your time, that's pretty powerful nowadays.
Yeah.
Not
I'm
having to spend $200 a week at the grocery store.
I'm the kind of person, and it's my wife always used to give me a hard time about this, but she's like, why don't you just go and buy that? And I'll spend money on tools and do whatever and learn how to do it. But I tell her, I'm like, look, once I learn how to do it and I have the tools to do it, I can do it anytime whenever I need it. I don't need to go out and buy it
Right.
again because I have that skill or that resource. She's like, you devote like 5 times the amount of time and effort into doing it yourself is just going out and spending, $40 or whatever on something. I'm like, I don't think you understand. To me, it's about the pride in
Right.
knowing how to do it. And same thing, like now I want to make my own
Exactly.
butter, not because I have to or I need to, just because I want to and I know where it came from then,
That's right.
you know?
Exactly. That's it. I mean, think about like with the shiitake logs. We have about 120 logs now. I want to get to 1,000. That's
Ooh,
my goal for the year. And, I use a lot of shiitake mushrooms, not just for me, but in products that I make and stuff. I dehydrate a whole lot of them. But if you just learn how to grow shiitakes, buy the tools that you need and yearly cut down trees and inoculate them, you have food for 5 years. If you think about it that way, it's like, hey, it's one and done, You just
yeah.
gotta take care of it.
My shiitake logs haven't grown any mushrooms yet. I'm starting to wonder maybe
Aw,
they won't. So it's been a year. It's been like this
okay.
spring will be, well, I guess this, no, okay, so I inoculated them last fall and they didn't have anything this fall. So maybe they take a little longer.
Mm.
I don't know.
You might have a warm strain, and then I would wait until this spring, summer, and see what happens.
That's what I'm hoping
Yeah.
for. I'm really hoping for
Mhm.
that. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe I had a friend that told me maybe I should have watered them a little bit more. I didn't, but they.
Yeah. What kind did you use, oak or sweet gum, or what did you
I
use?
used oak for the
Okay.
shiitake, and then I also did. I'm trying to think. Gosh, I did like 6 different types of mushrooms, I think, but
Oh, whoa.
I did shiitake and reishi.
Okay.
I think that was on the oak, and then I used mulberry, hackberry, and something else for the oysters, and
Hmm.
I think lion's mane, maybe something like that. And that
Lion's mane is hard to grow.
I haven't had any grow yet. The only thing that I've actually had a few
Mm.
pop up on those logs was some oysters, and they were so young. I didn't pick them. because they
Mhm.
were almost like translucent, still. And then I think, I don't know, something got to them before I did, as I was letting them grow.
Aw.
So you got to fight for that, the animals for sure. But so it was
Aw,
only a
you should
couple.
try. Have you tried growing the oyster mushrooms in buckets?
No, I've done blocks, and those work pretty
Okay, the
good.
buckets are easy.
Yeah.
Pretty easy.
So is that where
Hmm
you do like the straw inside the buckets, or
hmm
okay?
I do a very low-tech method of pasteurization. I use those metal trash cans and I put my chopped straw in there and I buy the chopped straw that's already bagged
Yep.
because I don't want to chop it. I want it easy. So I put it in there and I boil water on the stove. It takes a lot of gallons of water, but I pour it over it, leave it there till the next day, take off the lid because it keeps the temperature for like 4 to 5 hours instead of the two that you need. And then I just take it and put it on a clean table with a tarp and mix in all my spawn, fill up my sanitized buckets that have already have holes drilled in them. And usually within a month to 2 months, I have mushrooms and they fruit several times throughout the season. And I only do it during the warm season. So I try to,
Okay.
set myself up for success by using all the warm strains of the oysters, like the pink oysters and the blue oysters. And they're gorgeous and they sell great at the farmer's market, although I'm not doing the farmer's market anymore. 10 years, I just retired.
Okay. So do you drill holes in the bucket then, or
Yes.
how big of holes do you
Yes.
drill? Does it matter?
They're between like a quarter inch, half inch. I think that's the size. I always mix them up if it's quarter inch or half inch. But there's plenty of
Yeah.
YouTube videos. I probably even
Okay.
have one up there. And it's only about 12 holes. The Home Depot buckets, you can
Yep.
sanitize them, use them. Or you could just, you don't have to buy your buckets. You could even find a bakery or a grocery store. And a lot of times they'll give the frosting buckets away for free, which are half the size. They're 2.5
And they're probably
gallon,
BPA free.
then it didn't cost you
Yep.
anything.
Yep.
They're what?
And I said, and they're probably BPA
Mm,
free versus like the Home Depot buckets where they
yes,
might be.
yeah,
Even
yeah.
though I don't know if that's really leaching into your mushrooms or not, but
I don't think so
yeah.
because it's not, I don't think because the mushrooms grow so fast, I don't think there's time for that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's good to
I
know.
don't worry about it. I don't worry about it.
So then when you do like your tincture and you're doing water and alcohol extraction, um,
Hmm
wh- what like proof of alcohol are you using to do that then? Like 190 proof, the highest proof you can get, or what?
hmm Yep. I usually buy Everclear or Golden Grain, whatever I can, because it makes math easy
Hmm.
for me because I hate math.
Who
So
doesn't?
this way, if I if I do a weight to volume method too. Some people do the folk method, but mine's weight to volume, and it's like 1 ounce by weight of the mushroom to 5 ounces by volume of the alcohol. And so if we have, for example, 1 ounce of the mushrooms, 5 ounces of the alcohol, I put it in there. All the mushrooms are chopped up. I shake it daily for 2 weeks and then I strain it out. And if I have enough fresh mushrooms still or dried mushroom that I had set aside, I will do the water extraction with the fresh. If not, I use what I strained out. I use that mushroom, put it in a pot with about a liter of water or so, and then reduce it down to equal amounts. So this way
Equal
I have
amounts
five
of the
ounces of the
alcohol
water.
versus
Right,
okay.
right.
And then when you do that, then are you like trying to you you just equal amounts of alcohol and water, and you're not using like a hygrometer or anything like that to like test the
No,
alcohol proof at that point then?
no.
Okay.
I am not, I'm telling you, I am not sciencey, and I just go by what what my mentors have told me
Yeah.
what works and go with that.
Well, see,
But there
like,
are some people that will get sciencey and they'll go really into, no, it only has 42.8%
well,
alcohol.
40
I'm like,
proof
you
is
know
good
what?
enough. I mean,
It's
yeah.
fine. 25% is
Is
enough.
it?
But,
Okay.
this way, yeah, it is. It is when you go below that. So when people are using vodka that's just 90, or
Mm,
what is the regular vodka? Is it
80,
80 proof?
80,
80
90.
proof,
Yeah.
right? You're messing with fire there because, there's no way you're going to know for sure if you're, and why go through all that trouble and expense and then find out that your tincture lasted about a year instead of
Hmm.
10 years,
Yeah.
So if you start with the Everclear and know that you'll have roughly 50%,
Right. And
roughly
that's
is
what I
good.
always wondered because it's if you think about it, in the olden days, there
Yeah,
people weren't doing such scientific methods and they didn't have digital food scales and all of these other
right.
things. They knew, hey, about this much to this and this will work. Or if you shake the jar and you see the alcohol clinging to the sides of the jar, like those are the methods they use. They didn't, or they hold it up to the light, and if it's magnifying through when they're making their grain alcohol to do these tinctures and things like that. It's not, I don't know. I feel like people get lost in a lot of that stuff, and it's the olden ways or the tried and true ways and the ways that everybody did for way longer than we're doing these scientific methods. I totally agree with that, but I wish somebody
Yes.
would teach me those methods as well, because I'm only going by things of what I hear, and I feel like sometimes maybe that's not right. But
Aw, yeah. But yeah, you can't go wrong with the folk method too. I mean, doing that is totally fine. You're still going to have a good product. The only thing different about doing like the weight to volume method versus a folk method is your product is going to be as similar as what's on the shelf at the store.
mm,
So if you take two dropperfuls, it's going to be similar to what you bought that says take two dropperfuls. If you do the folk method, you may have to take three and a half. Um, but it's not going to hurt you,
just go by feel.
it's only going to make you better. Yeah. And then there's some people, nowadays there's some people that say that mushrooms aren't even medicinal. And I'm like, what the heck, people? People in other countries have been doing this for years and years and years. And there's there's proof that the mushrooms do help
Yeah, I
and
feel
heal.
like there's so much data that isn't collected or published because, well, big pharmaceutical companies aren't going to make any money off of it, right? And
Right.
and it's
Right.
sad that, like, if you look at uh, continuing training and everything for doctors and medical professionals, all of that is funded and sponsored by the pharmaceutical companies. So they're
Right.
going to educate you about their drugs and nothing else and not show you any other studies other than anything that benefits them. Seems a little
Right.
shady to me.
Yeah. Don't you think? I don't
Yeah.
take medicines.
Yeah, I try not to. I really do. I mean,
Mm,
unless it's like a life or death, there, something like
right.
that to where you absolutely need to. But it's funny, my daughter has eczema, and I almost
Hmm.
feel like it's like a heavy metal type thing with her. I
Could
really
be.
do.
Hmm.
Um, and I was telling my wife, I was like, I think we need to do like the whole family, just do a heavy metal cleanse and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. Maybe a parasite cleanse after that. Who knows? Never done that, by the way. But
Mm-mm.
so she gets like a rash, and the doctor prescribes stuff for her to put on the eczema. But it's like it almost bleaches her skin, whatever it is, and it's not healthy. So we
Oh
stopped
no.
using it, and we use a yarrow and plantain
Good.
salve, and that
Okay.
alone makes it better in a
Hmm.
day or two,
Awesome.
all on its
Awesome.
own.
Do
Yeah.
you, that's great. You don't need that other stuff. Do you have chickweed up there too?
Oh yeah. Yeah. A lot of
Okay,
chickweed.
well
Yeah.
that's what I use for people with eczema. I use chickweed and plantain mixed together. But a lot of times also with eczema, it's a liver thing. So not necessarily just heavy metals. She might just need a liver cleanse. And
Okay.
it's a little bit easier. Yeah,
So
so
what's the
the
liver
dandelion
cleanse?
root,
Okay.
like there's all the bitter herbs, your dandelion, gentian root, um, getting her to eat some of the bitter herbs and lay off sugar a little bit
Yeah.
if you can get
That's
her
the
to
other
do
thing.
that.
And so here's something interesting I found. What my wife ate during pregnancy seems to be what the children crave. It's their favorite thing.
Interesting.
So
Oh,
with the first one, my wife ate pretty much everything, but she always craved like different meats. And my oldest is a meat eater. My middle one, for some reason, my wife just craved candy and sugar and all these bad things and ate it. And the middle one is a sugar junkie. We have to
Oh,
like
wow.
really, really monitor her and police her because she'll sneak and steal anything. If there's candy in the house or anything, she'll sneak and steal it. And that's the one that has the eczema and all those kinds of issues.
Oh,
And then the littlest one, my wife would eat spicy hot things. She craved like nachos and tacos and all these things. And the little guy is a taco lover and loves hot sauce on his tacos and jalapenos. It's crazy.
that's wild.
But
Love
so
it.
it's kind of weird, but I see it, and that's funny that you said the sugar because it popped in my head right away
Mm-hmm.
that yeah, so maybe just a whole sugar detox, which is going to be hard for her, but
Mm-hmm.
hard for
Mm-hmm.
all of us really. It's in everything. It's crazy.
Yes, it is.
So mushrooms, favorite like I mean, so you've got the entire book, a bunch of recipes probably about these different mushrooms and incorporating them into dishes.
Yes. Yes, it's mostly mushrooms, but there's plenty of like wild greens and flowers. I like making pretty food too. So if you look on the Instagram page, I love to make things pretty because you eat with your eyes first. And it's basically the book is about using things that you have in your backyard, and there are always substitutions too. So if you can't find um chanterelle mushrooms, maybe you can use oyster mushrooms or button mushrooms in a recipe, but I like to think out of the box too with my recipes because a lot of people think you just saute your mushrooms and that's it. But you could put chanterelles in desserts and it's fabulous because they take on that sweet flavor and they pair well with peaches. So I make a chanterelle peach muffin. I also this year I just started making a chanterelle peach jam
Mm.
that is to die for. It is so good. So next year I got to make like a buttload of those because I already sold out and I only kept what I want for myself, a couple of jars. We brandy chanterelles. And then with lion's mane, gosh, anything that you can do with seafood, you could do at lion's mane. So of course the obvious crab cakes. Um, but this year we also made this isn't in the book, but it was a lion's mane chowder that
Hmm.
could rival a clam chowder. People would not know there's not clams in there, you
That's
know?
interesting because I'm actually allergic to
Yeah.
seafood, found out recently. So I
Wow.
know, sad. Still eat scallops, so I'm good there, and I actually prefer them anyway. I like a good scallop to like having to actually work at a crab claw or something just
Oh yeah,
seems
crab
better to me.
claws are yeah.
But yeah,
I'm a lobster tail kind of person. Love my lobster tails.
I also did, but no more. No
I'm
more. Yeah,
sorry.
I know. But now I have lion's mane to look forward to, right? So
That's right.
so I
Absolutely.
may try doing some crab cakes or something with them. It's the funniest story. Well, I've told it a couple times on this podcast, but that's the one mushroom that I regret. I found one. So just got into hunting hen of the woods. Just
Mm-hmm.
learned about them, went with a friend, and then that was like I always kind of morel hunted and had a few buddies that I went and did that with, but that was it. That was like the gateway, but I never really expanded
Yes.
that far. And then it was kind of like, okay, well, what else? Yeah, I mean, there's got to be more seasons. What fills me in until hunting season comes around for deer? And then there it was. It was hen of the woods. And
Amazing.
my buddy brought some in and cooked them some different ways. And I'm like, man, all right, I need to go find these. So went and learned them. And then while I was hunting those, and I had a mushroom book and I used to flip through it. And that's how I learn a lot of my things is I actually flip through the books and kind of just like
Mm-hmm.
sort of memorize them or recognition. And then, oh, I think I know that. Go back home and look and be like, oh, wow, okay. Now I know what, climate that actually grows in, even though it says this in the book. I get it now. Put those pieces together. And then, so I find this lion's mane mushroom and I'm like, I know that. Is it edible? Oh man, I don't know. So rather than like picking it, taking it, studying it, right? I left it. Rookie move.
Oh.
Rookie move. Never found another one since. And
Oh, you will.
I will. I will. But I maybe they're just not that common around me. I don't know. I found like one bear's tooth, you know, pretty close to lion's mane, but no like big, long, shaggy. It was so beautiful. It wasn't huge, but I mean, it was like the size of like a big
Perfect.
softball, perfect size. And I left it, and that was the end of it. So to this
Oh,
day,
you'll find another
it
one.
still haunts me. Still haunts me to this day. But so many things,
Oh
and at
my
the time I
gosh.
didn't know. Like once I read through the book, and I'm like, oh man, that would have been so cool to make some type of dish with it, right? And then later on, you
Absolutely.
learn how medicinal it is, and the neurological effects that it can have for you, and improvement and cognition, and all these different things. And I'm like,
Yeah.
man, now I feel like
Well,
I need it now.
you could always order it, and get it from somebody else and have it shipped to you.
So I gotta say, I've heard a lot of things about a lot of different companies that are out there that they've done testing on, and sometimes they don't even have the mushroom that they claim that's in there.
Yes, there is a lot of those. No, I'm talking about if you want it fresh, if you want it fresh and you don't have one in your area, you could check it foraged.com, and there's so many foragers on there, and they have lion's mane, and you could just order it and have it shipped to you overnight. It's a little pricey to do
Hmm.
that, but yeah, if you're looking for one that has dried lion's mane, like in capsules or in coffees or something like that, you do have to be careful of what company. And I don't know, is it okay for me to mention a
Yeah,
company
you
or
can.
not?
You
Okay.
can. I've tried them.
um,
I'm a coffee snob though, so I gotta say I'm a
yeah,
coffee
so it might be
snob.
for
So to me, it's not that great because it's already pre-ground, and in my mind, pre-ground coffee is stale from the moment, like 15 minutes after you grind it.
yeah.
But other people, I'm
Yeah,
not
I
gonna knock it.
understand
I'm
that.
not gonna knock it for other
No,
people.
that's
So go
fine.
ahead and mention it
No,
because
I,
I've
I mean,
tried
I
it.
like
Yeah.
I like Four Sigmatic. I mean, they're just like I think they're a good company. And I don't like, I mean, I use their little instant coffees, but mainly I like their ground coffee, the one that's ground. So I do Lion's Mane coffee a lot, and I find it's pretty good. But for capsules, for companies like that, Paul Stamets has a company. Um, I don't know why the name is going out of me, but I know one of his products is called My Community, and it has a lot of good mushrooms in it. But you do have to be careful. You want the whole fruiting body. You do not want just the mycelium, no matter
Right.
what somebody tells you, because that's not what you want. You want the fruiting body.
Right. Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I I feel like at this point in the game, I should just find it on my own and collect it or
Yes.
grow it. And also, it always makes me wonder when it grows on a substrate that's not the natural substrate that it actually grows on, and you're using like, different millet or whatever, if it
Right.
truly has the same benefits as it would in the potency as in the wild.
Right. Like anything else, I mean, no matter what you eat, if it's not grown naturally, then it's not going to have the same nutritional value. You do have
Hmm.
those chain of commands that go down. Like, how far are you willing to go down that chain to get what you want?
Yeah.
If you want to get it fresh, you want it off that tree, of
Yeah.
course. Now, second best would be out of the little grow bags, but then you could go down to the coffees or the tinctures well, the tinctures would probably be your next best bet if you get a tincture,
Yeah.
because that's hopefully it was made from the ones that were grown on a tree,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's like, I mean, even with meat, I don't know if you've ever looked at like the studies and the graphs and the different, and breaks it down, wild game versus, like farm raised, and then even from farm. I've seen some of them to where it goes from like farm raised to, like commercial feedlots, and the
Ugh, oh, those are the
difference
worst.
in the quality of the protein and the different types of fats that they have in them, it's
Mm-hmm.
astonishing. I mean,
It is.
like elk meat is, per ounce it's like 20, something 28 grams or 30 something grams of protein, and then it's like venison is close to that, but then, of course, because of agriculture and stuff, they average it in, and it's even lower.
Right.
And then you go to, like grass-fed cattle, and it's still decent, but it's lower. And then, the domestic feedlots, and it's like way lower, and it's only like 18 grams of protein, and it only has two types of fats, and one of them's a bad cholesterol anyway, and it's like, what is going on here? So yeah.
It's like your eggs. It's just like your eggs,
Yeah.
right? You raise your own chickens. I do too. And people are like, oh, you're going to get high cholesterol. No, you're not.
Yeah.
Not from your own eggs. Then our chickens aren't stressed out. They're not going to have high cholesterol in their
Yeah.
eggs.
Mine even
Mhm.
lay throughout most of the winter. This is the first time that they
Mine too.
haven't even, and I guess, I don't know. I guess that's just a happiness thing and keeping them warm and cozy. I think
And
that's,
good food.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I let them free range most of the time. I don't keep
Mm-hmm.
them cooped up, pun
Right.
intended there. Um, but yeah, I don't keep them cooped up or even in a run unless like I have a predator problem. That's the only time I keep them in the run until that's
Mm-hmm.
addressed
Mm-hmm.
properly. Um, but and they eat bugs and whatever, and we
Yep.
throw scraps to them from when we're cooking with whatever vegetable peelings, all that kind of stuff. So it's funny. The first time my wife, we had the first batch of chickens, and they followed her everywhere. Every single one of them would let her pick them up. We don't have that now,
Aw.
because there's just not enough time. But she spent enough time with them when they were chicks that I think it was every single one of them would let her pick them up, which is
Right.
kind of rare in a flock, especially when you have like 18 birds in the flock.
Yeah.
And,
Really.
and she'd call for them. I mean, they still come now, but it's normally one or two will come and the rest will follow. But she would call and holler out, girls, come here. And they would all come running. It didn't matter if they were on the other side of the property. They would come running, and she'd feed them watermelon and, the rinds or whatever, and they'd just tear it up. But
That's
it
funny.
was pretty cool to watch that happen.
Love it. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been awesome talking to you. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for sharing. And before we go, just kind of where can everybody find you and all of your information and your classes and all that good stuff?
Okay. Well, the best place to find me is on the website, foragerchick.com. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, that's the same, just Forager Chick. On uh, Facebook, I'm actually Bellavista Farm, which is my farm name. So you can find me on there. And I think those are all the main places. You'll get all my stuff on the website, though. I'll have my classes. You can sign up for the newsletter if you like. Have the local classes and the online school, because I have an online school too. And if you want to order a book or any of my products, that's on the website as well.
Okay, awesome. And I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And once again, thank you so much for listening to the Publicly Challenged podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please subscribe on whatever platform it is you're listening to. Also, if you could leave a review, that would help us out. And you can check us out on Instagram or at publiclychallenged.com. And once again, thank you so much for listening to the show.
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by overpriced wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I heard that for a limited time, all Mint Mobile wireless plans are $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they sell wireless service online. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. To get this new customer offer, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.